I got another project I'm going to start working on, and this is going to be a work table. This is super easy. Anybody can do it. I'm not a carpenter, and my skills for building are marginal at best. But this is something that seriously anybody can do. It's going to be basically a couple of 4x8 sheets of plywood that I'm going to use for a top and a bottom, so I can store stuff underneath it. But this is kind of my list here. This is the plywood. That means pressure treated. There's 4 2x4x36. This is the 4 2x4x93 for the sides that they'll run the length of this new table. And then you need 4 2x4x48s, and that's for the end pieces here. And then I'm going to use 8 2x4x45s, and that's going to be the slats that'll give it strength and stability. I'm building this table pretty sturdy, where I can put anything I want on this table in the future. The kind of the shopping list is here. You'll need 2 sheets of plywood, 2 pressure treated 2x4x8 foot, and 10 2x4x8 foot regular untreated plywood. Now, if you don't want to have a bottom shelf, and you don't want to do 4 slats on top and bottom, then you could build this even cheaper. So I got a list here if you want to do that, and that'd be 1 plywood sheet. You only need 2 of the pressure treated 2x4s and 4 to 5 of your regular 2x4x8s. And that just depends on how many slats you want to put. If you just do 2, you'd only need 4. So going to get started here. I've already started. I've got sawdust all over me from cutting. I've already cut some of these. I've got little marks here where I've started, but I figured this would be something that I could share, something that is a good project. Like I said, anybody can do it, and we'll get started. All right, well, so far I've got a rectangle. I have successfully made a rectangle. At this point, this could be a very tiny raised bed garden as far as height, sandbox, or an extremely large window frame, picture frame, or anything else. But this is actually the top. This will be the top of my table. It's a little easier to build it on the floor and then flip it around after you get the legs and get it square and everything, because I'm assuming this concrete is level. So you know what happens when you assume, but I've got pretty good faith in my concrete being level, because I built the chop saw table and did it the same way, and it turned out level. So I do have a floor drain, so I'm trying to stay away from that because I know it slopes towards that. So this should be pretty good, and I'll only block one exit to the shop here. But next thing will be is put the legs in and get it, like I said, square. Make sure everything's good, because it'll only get worse if you start out of square. I have learned that as well. So put the legs on, secure them in with screws, and then basically at that point you just flip it over, repeat this exact same square on the bottom, tighten it in where you've got any kind of like here, this board's a little bowed, but you can kind of manhandle and force it into shape, and then put the top on, and I'm done. It sounds, if you say it real fast, it doesn't take very long to do this. But stop right here, get the legs, get my screws, and start up here in just a moment. All right, so I got the legs on, and if you look at it, you'll see that it is actually square. I got a framing square, and you'll see at the back, I don't know if it shows up or not, but it looks like it's not level, but that's just because I'm dealing with some warped wood. And once you get the legs on, make sure that they're plumb this way, or level, going up and down, front to back, as best you can. This isn't rocket science, so if it's off a little, it's fine. Um, the overall goal, though, is to get the table level. You don't want things rolling around on it. So wanted to show you this with the legs on, and also, point out like a little gap right there where it's showing that it's not level is because of the boards not being there. Some of them are twisted and warped and curved, but after you get more wood secured, you'll be able to tighten that out and force it into compliance so that it'll be straight and level and everything for you. So got the legs on, going to now flip it over and do the same thing on the bottom. Alright, so we got the top and bottom done. Now I'm going to put the slats in. I'm going to do 4 on bottom and 4 on top. I've just got them thrown in here. I'll use the nail gun for this, but you could use screws just as easily. It's just faster, and I find that the nail gun is a better choice for me for doing these slats, just because it is so much faster. And this isn't so much integral to the structure of the table itself, but just to give support for the plywood that's going along the top and bottom to allow it to hold more weight without bowing or sagging. This also gives you the ability to use a thinner plywood. I probably wouldn't go really any thinner than 1/2 inch. That stuff's pretty awful. But by doing your slats, I'm going to do 4. You could do 2. It just depends on how many slats you want and how much weight you expect to put on this thing. I really don't know how much weight I'll be putting on it, but I know with 4 I can pretty much put whatever I can lift onto it, and even I can stand on it and it'll be fine. So I'm not the smallest man, and I may even dance on top of it when I'm done. I have no idea. So going to get these in, get the air compressor charged up, and nail gun, get the right nails, and get to cranking this thing together. We're about done, so getting pretty exciting. Alright, so I got the slats on top, about to put the slats on bottom. Like I said, I'm using some pieces and basically just scrap wood for most of the build. And so I don't know what these are. They're not 2x4s, they're not 2x2s, but I have figured out, apparently somebody, I guess people who lived here before me, ripped a 3/4 inch off of them for some reason. So I've got a little piece of wood there to bring it up to even level with the rest of the other 2 actual 2x4s. So I'll pop those in with the nail gun, and then all that's left will be getting the top and bottom shelf put on, and then we'll call this complete. Well, this wraps up the table building. It is done. Just a recap, it is exactly 4 foot wide, 8 foot long. I did that just to use full sheets of plywood. I have a bunch of old, used, wore out plywood and a bunch of old, wore out, used wood, and I've been using the sawhorses for my table for at least a year, ever since we got the concrete. Well, even before the concrete was poured. So I would guess going on a year and a half. I have not had a work table other than the sawhorses and some plywood. So basically, this is all used materials except for 2 pressure treated 2x4s and 2 untreated 2x4s, and then the rest I just salvaged. It's a work table, so it's not supposed to look perfect. I did save my good plywood. That's for the chicken coop. I bought that. That's really thick and brand new. So, and then I'll use the rest of I've got tons of sheets of pieces of plywood, and I'll jigsaw that together at that point. But this turned out great. I am so happy. It actually looks way bigger than my other table, just because it's not it's not rounded on the ends from sitting on the sawhorses. So used to always have an issue where when you come in and you put anything over on this edge to cut with your skill saw or whatever, it was curling down, and anything that would roll you had to put dead center because of the kind of the bow of the plywood just being that it's just plywood not supported by the full width. Love how it turned out. The bottom is give me ample storage for things underneath, and the size is perfect. I do want to kind of brag on myself. It is level in all directions and square. So all I used was a framing square and this 4 foot level and a little I got another little level that's probably, I don't know, 18 inches long. I used that for the legs. When I had the legs up before I secured them in, I made sure they were level. And then, like I said, I went through and just popped in these with the nail gun, and then kind of countersunk them a little. But I mean, this is a garage project. Yeah, if you got a shop, it's a shop project. And I can't tell you how valuable it is to have a work surface where you can actually do work on it. You know, something that's very heavy duty. This thing's, after all the wood and everything put on this thing, weighs a ton, so it won't shift on you. It's just invaluable. It's big enough that you can work on full sheets of plywood with it, or you know, you can make it. It's your table. You can make it whatever size you want, and that's the beauty of it. And of course, the smaller it is, the less wood you're going to use. If you want to, you could actually split this in half and make 2 tables out of this without really having to use but another couple of sticks of 2x4s. Anyway, just wanted to show you that I do finish projects. This is one that is a full day. It took me a full day to do this, but of course I take breaks in between. I consider myself union at home because I take breaks whenever I want to and stop and smell the roses a little bit, and I take a lengthy lunch and then I get back to it. But it's my time. Nobody's paying me for it. And again, I am not a carpenter by any stretch. So if I can do this, anybody can do this. I mean, it's that simple. Just the construction is super easy. Just get you some very, very common tools and spend a day building you a table or 2. Anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next project.